Excellent. There's people already waiting. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maria Dismondy, and I am here today with Rob Broder, and I am a children's book publisher. Rob is actually a children's book publisher, so we have a lot in common. I am doing this series with different picture book writers all fall long. Each week we're tuning in on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are learning about each and every author's journey. We're learning about their inspiration, and we're sharing their stories, which it's been really inspirational for other writers and for students too, as we encourage classroom teachers, which are typically tuning in on the replays. Because sometimes the times don't work with the other coast. So welcome, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to see you.
Well, you know what's exciting? I didn't actually realize the day that you picked for this interview is super close to your release date for your book.
It just was released on Tuesday.
So happy book release. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So let's dig in, Rob, because your journey into adulthood, you haven't always been a writer. Have you always been a writer, but maybe just not published?
In my adult life, I think I have. Yeah, I've always written things. Always written, basically, when I say things, I've written children's book stories. I was a preschool teacher for many, many years. So I read a lot of books, and I would go home and then write down thoughts, ideas.
I didn't know that about you. That's fantastic. And I have to tell you, our friend Michelle from Central Avenue Publishing is here. So that's really cool. Hi, Michelle.
Great.
So you were a preschool teacher. So you actually were with children and you were like, you know what kids need and what they enjoy in stories. So that's really neat.
I started making up stories during circle time too, to keep their interest and keep their pull more than just reading the same books over and over when you're with them all year. So I would make up stories, almost like realistic stories and imaginative realistic stories. Like I would tell them something totally fake that happened to me over the weekend. And so they were intrigued that I would tell them that I really found a door in a tree, and I opened the door and inside there were stairs that went down into the earth. And then, so from there, I just kept going and going, and they would just be listening and not being so wiggly. Sometimes I would joke with them and leave them at a cliffhanger and say, and I'll tell you the rest tomorrow morning.
Oh.
So it just built my love for stories and writing.
Fantastic. So I didn't know that about you. So you have always enjoyed storytelling and writing. And a few years ago, you and your wife, a family-owned business, Ripple Grove Press, you started publishing really, really great, beautiful picture books. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you. Yeah, well, the name Ripple Grove is exactly from the story times that I would sit with the children. And there are fairies and troll-like characters that live in Ripple Grove. And each day, each week, a new segment would happen. And it was literally just through imagining it and what could I tell them next. And Amanda came downstairs and said, what if we call it Ripple Grove Press? So from there, we've been making books. It's been great. We set out to find writers and illustrators that maybe have a hard time breaking through bigger presses. And we do pride ourselves on publishing books from first-time authors and illustrators. And looking for that timeless story that you do want to read 100 years from now.
And you know what I find really interesting in what you do? You read thousands of submissions. So when we talk about writing experience, you have come across so many different submissions, and you are able to determine whether or not it's going to make or break the sale of a picture book. And we did a series this summer, a creative marketing series, all about, how do you sell books in the book industry? And someone over at Albert Whitman, she really built her career from the ground up, being an editor, being a submissions editor, and then moving up the chain. And I think that submissions portion of the work can really teach you a lot. And so I know that you told me sometimes it's hard to find that diamond in the rough, right? Like you can get exhausted. I know I've chatted with you sometimes and you're like, I'm just looking for a good book.
Right. I've read so many now. I have literally read thousands of submissions, which I'm grateful for everyone submitting to our press. but I'm just at the point where I know what I'm not looking for.
Yeah.
The second it starts, the second I read a few lines from the query on what it might be about. I already know it may not be something I'm interested in because I'm looking for something so specific and so different.
Yeah, and I think for anyone listening, that if you really follow the guidelines from publishers, you're going to do them a favor and yourself a favor, because you'll be able to find the perfect fit a lot quicker, right? So
it's
I love
helped my
that.
writing as well. It's helped my writing as well on not what to write.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to jump into. Your new book, can you hold it up and do a little dance for us?
Okay, sure. I won't do a dance, but the book can do a dance.
There you go. Paul and his ukulele. Now, do you call it a ukulele or a ukulele?
Ukulele.
Okay, because I've heard it both ways. And
Sure.
I want to know, I know you actually play the ukulele, and sorry, ladies and gentlemen tuning in, we're not going to see it today. He's saving that for his story times.
If you want to hear me play, go check out our book trailer.
There you go. I'll put a link
trailer is on YouTube, and you can hear me play. That is me playing the background music for the book trailer.
So let's jump in. Where did you get the inspiration to write this book?
Well, I can. I'll do a quick story that I was working from home, and my wife Amanda wanted me to get out of the house because I was home so much, and she thought it would be good for me to get out and meet people. And 1 mile from my house was a new startup group that someone posted about ukuleles, and I never played. And I was like, all right, well, it's only 1 mile from my house. I might as well go. And someone had a banjo ukulele there, and that was it. So I own a banjo ukulele and a regular ukulele, but I just fell in love with the small instrument, the 4 strings. And that's how I fell in love with ukulele. And then the story, Paul, is, some people that know me very well say it's kind of sort of my life in the book, because Paul does get a ukulele and he travels. He says goodbye to his parents, and he travels throughout all these different, basically throughout the world, or at least this country, and through deserts and forests and small coffee shops. And something happens to his ukulele during his journey, and then meets other friends and new experiences after that. So I kind of was, for this book, writing what I know. I was looking for just a nice, simple story. When I was reading all of my submissions, nothing was really resonating with me, and we were forecasting we needed more titles for this time 2 years ago. And we were like, let's do this. And so Paul was always a boy in my imagination until I saw Jen Kazmierski's foxes on her portfolio. And when I sent it to Amanda and I said, what if Paul was a fox? She had foxes like lounging out on couches and things like that in human form. And I said, okay. And so we reached out to Jen and I shared her the story. And a little secret, I never told Jen through the entire making of the book that I wrote the story.
Ooh.
Until she was done and she sent all the final art was scanned in. I said, I would like you to know that I wrote the book.
Oh my goodness.
I have the balance, but I was still, because I was also the art director as well as the author on the book. So I would tell her, this scene's not working, this spread's not working right. Can you change that? And so it worked out well. I felt the relationship worked out fine, and we have a really beautiful book because of it.
That's so exciting. A baby book that's been out for 2 days. It's in hardcover, has a beautiful jacket. It's available everywhere books are sold, correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
Anywhere. Your local independent bookstore, order it at the library, online, Barnes & Noble, wherever you need to go.
Fantastic. We're going to head out to the library after this, so I'll be sure that the Novi Library, where I saw another one of your publishing company's books, that's where I sent you the picture from. So Grandmother's Thorn, right?
Grandmother Thorn, yeah.
Yep. So before we wrap it up today, we have about 6 minutes left. I want to hear about your writing process. So when Rob sits down to write a book, is Rob doing a mind map? Is Rob have the story in his head and he just gets it down on paper? Does Rob sit in front of the computer? Those tuning in, it's always a good thing to hear about different writing processes.
For me, it's I stew on something for many, many days. Many days. Maybe I might write 1 or 2 words down. But I just stew on it, and I process what is happening to the character or characters, where is it taking place, and what's happening. And then I write it down. Then from there, I type it up. Then from there, I print it out. And then I sit and I leave. I usually go out to a cafe. I don't love to stay home when I'm trying to be creative writing. I like to go out. And from there, I take the printed sheet and I write up all edits and cross things out and edit, then go back onto the computer, type up everything again. I reprint it again. I feel like I edit best on paper. And that is my editing writing paper. And then on top of all of that, in between all of that, I go for walks and I think on this. I deliberately just think on that story and what is missing, what's not happening. Should a character be added? Should a character be removed? Where's the danger? I want something spooky in this scene. What is it, and how do I bring it to the story to make it flow evenly? And then again, print it out and go sit in a cafe. So it's a constant. It's many, many, many months of getting it to where I want it to be.
That's so good for the children to hear too, because a lot of children say, I'm done. And I say, no, when you hear from published authors, they are editing and revising so many times, multiple times. You have a lot of fans in here, Rob, who Melanie Glickman and Lori Hamilton Himmel, who are all saying congratulations, and Michelle. So this is exciting. Everyone out there, we are all so proud and happy for you. And this beautiful book is out there in the world, and I bet there are more books in your head. What is next?
I have another book coming out next year called Rabbit, Hare, and Bunny. And Rabbit, Hare, and Bunny are roommates. And Rabbit and Hare really are just getting a little annoyed of Bunny, so they ask him to move out.
Oh, no.
That's coming out next summer or fall. And then I just, over this summer, was signed by other publishers. So I have 2020, I have a couple more stories coming out. So with that, I've been writing a lot more and trying to think of something different. That's been my whole thing, is based on the submissions I read and the books I publish, and now what I try to write, I try to focus on just coming up with something a little different than what I have seen before. Try it.
Fantastic.
One of the stories we received an offer from another publisher this summer. That started from me talking about when I was a preschool teacher. I found during this late winter, early spring, a scrap piece of paper that had some notes on it, and that from those notes generated the story that got published. That
is amazing. That's really cool.
So
it was an idea from many moons ago, and now it is
an idea from many moons ago. All of a sudden, when I saw the notes, I immediately grabbed a pen and started. It's just something came to me, but I think it's just due to the experience I've been having in the industry and reading and writing so much that it just flowed. And then I just sent it off, and I got an email back with an offer. So
that's excellent. And I want to comment one more time for something that you really did that resonated with me. You allow space in your time, in your day, in your week for creativity. You plan that out. You go for walks intentionally to give your mind and yourself time to create. And I've run into a lot of people who are like, oh, I have this book idea. I want to write a book. And I just say, do it. Make the time. I think
when your kid is watching a TV program, don't sit and watch it with them. Just sit next to them and grab your notebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And go for it. And so I love that creative space. And Michelle is awesome. She said her kid books writers are so awesome. And everyone's just so happy for you. So this has been fantastic, Rob. I thank you. I cannot wait to get that book in my hands. I have to tell everybody I've actually already had it in my hands. It was a proof that I saw when I was at a conference with Rob, but we ordered our own copy, and I can't wait for it to arrive. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I will put links to your website below after we end. And so everyone check out Rob's new book. Hold it up one more time.
Oh, okay.
Paul
Thanks, everyone.
and the ukulele. Thanks again, Rob.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Maria.